David, I'm going to start with you. There's often a conversation about what Superman represents in a modern world. So what does this version say about today's society?
Oh, I think the thing I like the most about Superman and what he says about us is that he speaks to the timeless aspects of society and of humanity, the things that are sort of evergreen, even if they're not always at the forefront of the conversation or of our sense of identity as a people, as a civilization. Ultimately, I think that the shield, the symbol of Superman, is one of those things where it means something more pure than even the character itself. It sort of means, by definition, the things that unite us, the things that bring us together, the ideals we strive for, humanity at its best, or at least trying to be its best, which I think is oftentimes the best we can do, and we often fall short of that. So to have a little reminder of what we could be at our best and maybe what we hope to be is always welcome. Sometimes it feels more necessary than other times, but it's always welcome.
Yeah, I really love the parallels between what's happening right now and what we see in this film, and it makes me realize we need a Superman right now.
Well, I think James has said, there is a sadness to the Superman, because when you leave the theater, there isn't somebody like Superman who can come in and save the day. Yeah. But we all hope that part of the energy that audiences walk out with is the energy of looking for that little piece of Superman in themselves and each other.
Well, that's one of the things that I, as somebody who I'm not necessarily the target audience for a movie like this, but one of the things I love about Superman is that he's eternally questioning what it means to be human. He believes, like David said, in the power of people and in the power of people to be good, which is why he chooses to walk among them, or one of the reasons he chooses to walk among them. And so I've always loved that he believes in the power of the friends and family that he interacts with as people to bring that to the world that they live in too, with a little bit of help. But I hope that people can leave the theater feeling inspired by what they could bring to their own humanity, their families, their communities, their workplaces. We could use a little bit more of that.
We certainly could, and I love the theme of hope in this film. And you, Rachel, you play a very iconic character, Lois Lane, that we know throughout the comics. She has a very iconic representation and reputation, in fact. Yeah. What did you want to bring to that character that felt new?
I feel like, I wanted to relieve myself of the pressure to feel like I had to put my own spin on it or needed to refresh it in some way, because the source material is so excellent and has been expertly crafted by so many brilliant artists who have drawn the character. She's one of the characters that has evolved the most in her lifetime. And James, one of the things I loved about James's script is that he clearly took inspiration and is paying homage to a lot of the different versions of her that have existed in the past. But by virtue of placing her today as a journalist who's passionate in particular about print journalism, which, as we know, is sort of an art form under siege, like what would that look like? Placing her at a point in this relationship with Clark and Superman where they're 3 months in. It's not an origin story. It sort of looks at a different part of the story that's already existed more deeply. And I'm aware that I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I think just by virtue of different people stepping into this role, they'll naturally take on a bit more of a modern flair.
One of the most compelling and interesting aspects of this film was seeing the interview conversation between the two of you, and seeing that dynamic of your character was really interesting to see.
It was really fun to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And David, back to you. Without spoiling, was there a specific scene or a moment that you personally connected with your character?
I've talked about this. At the end of the first week of shooting, there was a moment where we had done some work as Clark and Lois, and then I had done some work sort of by myself, flying through the air, tumbling, fighting a little bit, but that was all sort of against a blue screen. And then the last day of the first week was the first time that I kind of connected the two, the real character work and the physical stunt work, into this moment where I get blasted with fire, and then I turn around and I check on the bystanders. And in that moment when I checked on the bystanders, I felt like that's part of the spirit of this character is he takes the brunt of the hit, and then he turns around and makes sure everybody else is okay.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really enjoyed this film. I think the comic book fans are going to love it, and I can't wait for everybody else to see it.
That's so great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.